Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for watching my video and welcome to my first lesson on how to learn to recite the Quran, lessons in English, and basically this video is going to be an introduction to the remaining videos that are going to follow. So let's get started. First, before I go any further, I would like to apologize. I'm a little sick today, so if I clear my throat or if you hear me coughing, again, my apologies. So what's on the agenda today? Today what I'm going to talk about is what and who these videos are for and why I decided to, start this channel. How these videos are organized and how each video is formatted. So what's at the beginning of a video, what's at the end of a video, what's in the middle, and what the lessons and the self-tests of the lessons are like. And in order to gain maximum benefit from these lessons and videos that I'm going to provide, what you will need. And finally, if you need additional help, how you can get office hours from me or other help from your local masjid if need be. So who are these videos for? These videos are in English and are primarily for English speakers. And also they are for English speakers who live in America. Basically, if you hear my English, you can tell that I have an American accent. I've been living in the United States for about, I'm going to say 17 years now. And I am not English is not my first language, but it's practically my first language because most of my higher education was in English. So I speak English very well. I am fluent in it. And I also know what the general problems occur for English speakers when they're learning to read Arabic or learning to pronounce Arabic. So these videos are in English for English speakers, but that does not mean that other people cannot benefit from them. These videos can be beneficial for other people, non-English speaking people, but they are primarily targeted for English speakers. Also, these videos or these set of videos that I'm going to be uploading are for people who are looking for lessons in basics of recitation and some basics of reading English. Sorry, not English, but the Arabic in the Quran. This videos I'm going to start with some basic lessons. I'm going to move into some advanced lessons as well. But this is also for people who already possess advanced skills but are looking for a refresher in some basics of reading Quranic Arabic or pronouncing Quranic Arabic. So these videos are for English speakers in English. Other people can benefit from them, and they're mostly for people looking for basic recitation and some reading of the Quranic Arabic. But it will also be beneficial for people looking for some refreshers if they have advanced skills. So what is going to be the format of these videos? I'm going to divide each video into sections and lessons, and each section is going to contain multiple lessons. So the first section is, for example, is going to be letters and recognizing letters, and the whole section is going to contain maybe 4 or 5 lessons. And in the first lesson, I'm going to have you memorize the letters and what they look like, and then the second one, what the letters sound like, and then the third one, what the makharij are, and the fourth one, there's going to be maybe some movements and things like that. So each section is the section is the major portion, and each lesson and multiple lessons make up a section. The following is going to be the lesson format. With each new lesson, first thing that we're going to do in every lesson, we're going to review what was covered in the previous lesson, very quick review. Then I'm going to ask you to do warm-ups. Now, I'm going to provide the warm-ups of these lessons in a different video. And those warm-ups, I'm going to record my face, and I'm going to show you basically using my lips and using my own voice how to warm up your vocal cords, literally your vocal cords, your your throat, your nose, and things like that, your mouth, in order to get ready to recite the Quran. You will notice that when Arabs and Arabic speakers, native speakers of Arabic, when they recite the Quran, it sounds totally different when non-native speakers of Arabic do it. Why is that? because they are used to exercising parts of their vocal cords, of their throat, of their chest, of their mouth, of their lips, of their nose, actually, that most people are not. Um, it was very beneficial for me to learn those warm-ups, and in order to in order to learn to use those parts of my body for pronunciation. So the warm-ups are going to be very important, and they're going to be part of each and every video. However, I'm going to record one entire video on just the warm-ups. So with every lesson, you're going to have a review of the previous lesson, and then there are going to be warm-ups. I'm not going to include the warm-ups in every video. There's only going to be one warm-up video, but you're going to do warm-ups every time. So it's just like exercise. When you begin to exercise, you do warm-ups every time. So that's how we're going to do it. Next is going to include the lesson content and the instructions. This is going to be what the lesson is going to be about. The content, the instructions, the lesson, everything is going to be included in this part, and this is going to be the meat of the lesson. Next, we're going to go into the recitation/exercises, which is going to be what you're going to learn is what you're going to attempt to recite and attempt to implement in the exercises. So we're going to open up the Mus'haf, we're going to learn the lesson and basically attempt to find what we learned in the content in the Mus'haf and attempt to do exercises in the Mus'haf. And finally, with each lesson, I'm going to provide you a self-test. This self-test, and again, it's going to be a document. I'm going to go into details on what the self-test is going to be about in just a second, but this self-test is going to validate what you learned. One thing is important to note, that please don't move on to the next lesson until you have at least acceptable proficiency, and I'll go into what acceptable means in the previous lesson. Reason being that if you are on lesson 1 and if you want to move on to lesson 2, but you don't have acceptable proficiency in lesson 1, you will not gain much benefit from lesson 2. Reason being that just like in arithmetic or mathematics, first thing they teach you is arithmetic, then they teach you algebra, then they teach you trigonometry, then they teach you pre-calculus, then they teach you calculus. The reason it's built in this layered format is because if you don't know basic arithmetic, you're not going to derive much benefit from learning algebra. In fact, you're not even going to know what to do, what algebra is, and what abstract concepts mean in algebra. What is a variable? How do you add two variables? How do you find out the value of a variable? Until you know arithmetic, you can't know algebra. Similarly, the way that I've designed these lessons, you must know a lesson before you move on to the next one. Otherwise, you're not going to have as much benefit, or you're not going to derive as much benefit. Okay, the self-test. With each self-test, you're going to need a self-tester. Now, you're not going to be able to conduct these tests yourselves because obviously you cannot test yourself. Well, then it wouldn't be a test. But you are going to need a tester, and I'm going to tell you where you're going to find a tester. You can ask your local masjid, somebody who is proficient in reciting the Quran. You can ask online, or you can ask your friends and family. But with each and every self-test, the first thing I'm going to provide you is the tester criteria. So what does the tester need to know in order to conduct that test? So not every person is proficient or highly proficient in reciting the Quran. Some people are advanced, some people are in the middle, some people are at the lower level. But if somebody who doesn't know, basic or hasn't had a basic learning or education in the basics of the Quranic recitation, they may not be able to conduct a self-test. So I'm going to first provide you with every self-test, and this is going to be a document that is going to be included with every video, what the criteria of the tester must meet in order to conduct that self-test. The student and tester contact information is going to be included in that self-test, and the reason for that is I would like you to start keeping track of the people who you learn the Quran from, because the point is I want you to develop a relationship with the people of the Quran. And you're going to ask the person or whoever that it was for additional references for people who know how to read the Quran or know how to recite the Quran. The point is, I want you to get in touch. I want you to get in contact with people who know how to read the Quran, who know how to teach the Quran. We want to build a relationship with the people of the Quran. So keep in each and every self-test document, there is going to be a section for the tester's contact information, and it's important that you keep track of this. Each test obviously is going to contain test material and questions, and there are going to be points assigned to each question. So if it's a 5-point question or a 10-point question, it's pretty standard stuff. If you've taken tests before, you will know what the questions are going to be like. I might include some basic multiple choice questions, or some basic verbose questions like, okay, define what a fatha is or what a kasra is or something like that. But each question is going to have points associated with it, and we're going to have percentages with each test. So if let's say the total possible points is going to be, let's say, 100 points, and you scored 70 points, that means your grade was at 70%. If you scored less than that, that would be an F. If you scored 90% or higher, it would be this. You see the scale in front of you. It's pretty self-explanatory. A is what you want to be, where you want to be. It means that your percentage points of the total points is at 90% or more, which means it's excellent, that you are proficient in that lesson, highly proficient in that lesson. A B, which is 80% or more, it's considered acceptable. It's okay. You did very well, but the C's and our F's are is where you don't want to be. With C, it's poor. I wouldn't even. I decided not to call this as an acceptable grade, because usually in American universities and schools, A is considered highly is considered excellent, B is considered good, C is considered acceptable, D is considered poor, and F is unacceptable. But my grading scale is slightly more aggressive than that. I want you to be in at least a B in order for you to move on to the next lesson. And because this is the problem I've found in my own personal learning, and the other people that I've seen learning, and the people I've taught, it's very difficult for you to build on a shaky foundation. If you don't have the makharij of the letters, or the exits of the letters, forgive me for that word if you don't know what that means, I promise myself I will not. This video will not be jargon heavy, but if you don't know how to pronounce letters, it's going to be very difficult for you to combine letters to make words, or to do more advanced pronunciations, or to do more advanced ahkam, or rules related to tajweed, or related to recitation of the Quran. That stuff is going to be difficult for you to do. So I want you to aim as much as possible for each and every lesson to be at 90% or higher. At 80% or higher, it is acceptable. At C, which is 70% or more, it's poor. I'm not going to say that it is acceptable. I wouldn't want you to move on to the next lesson. So for a C, you need to come back and you need to revise that lesson. But for an F, it is totally unacceptable. You cannot move on to the next lesson until you have scored at least a B into that lesson. So I hope I've driven that point home. And finally, with every self-test document, after you've found a tester, you know that he meets the criteria for conducting the test, you have his contact information, and he has scored it, have the tester grade and sign the test. Have him give you an A, B, C, or F grade and sign the test, that this is what he thinks is where you are. The reason is I want you to keep a tally of your progress. It has motivated us, and basically what I also want you to do is I want you to give yourself a pat in the back. I want you to learn the psychology of learning, that if you do well, you should reward yourself. So if you, scored a 90% or higher in a lesson plan, and the tester, oh, by the way, it's a side note, because finding testers might be difficult, or people might be busy. It might be a good idea for you to conduct tests, and don't worry, you're going to have the self-test before you actually take the test. So you're going to know the questions before you take the test. You're going to know the answers as well. So it's that easy. But that is why my grading scale is so aggressive. If you know the questions and you know the answers, I can't expect it to be any lower than a B. So, as a side note, what I was saying was testers are busy people. You don't want to overburden them. So, if you find a person who knows how to recite the Quran and who knows how to recite the Quran well, you should conduct at least 2 or 3 lesson tests with him at a time. That way, you take these lessons at your own time. Maybe you take 2 video lessons at a time, 3 video lessons at a time, and that's what you're comfortable with at any given time, and you conduct the tests for those 3 lessons with the tester. But I'll leave that decision up to you. You can conduct 5 tests at a time, 6 tests at a time, but the reason I want you to build it on one on top of another is for that precise reason, that if, let's say, you are at a lesson and you've scored a 70 or less on it, then I wouldn't want you to move on to the next lesson test. So keep it to a minimum. Maybe conduct 2 or 3 lesson tests at a time with a tester, so that you're not taking up too much of the self-tester's time or the tester's time, the person who's going to be helping you, and you're using their time wisely as well. Moving on. What you are going to need, these are the supplies. You are going to need a Quran in the Uthmani script. If you don't know what that means, don't worry. Ask a friend, or Google free Quran, or ask your local masjid. The reason I prefer the Uthmani script, and what I mean by the Uthmani script, is there's traditionally multiple ways of writing the Quran. There's one method of writing the Quran which is known as the Uthmani script, or it's basically the way you write the Quran, the way you write the movements, the way you write the Arabic. I prefer the Uthmani script because it is easier to determine how to pronounce something from the Uthmani script than the other methods of writing the Quran. There's an African script. It has a lot of dots in it. There is I think it's called either the Indian script or the Pakistani script. It looks different. It's very similar to the Uthmani script. It has about the same amount of dots and letters and things like that. But I want you to find a Quran, and not just a translation, the real Arabic Quran in the Uthmani script, in the written Arabic script. So you're going to ask a friend. You can always Google free Quran, and there are multiple organizations who will send you a free Quran. But when you ask for that, or when you fill out that online form, just say, please, I need a Quran in the Uthmani script. You can literally copy and paste UTHMANI script, Uthmani script, and ask them, I need a Quran in the Uthmani script, because they might send you a Quran in the Indian script, and that might not be as beneficial. And also, you have to understand that a lot of these people, they will send you copies of the translations. They won't send you the original Arabic, because what they're thinking is, and mostly what the free Quran online is for, free Qurans that they send to you to your home, or for da'wah, or for inviting people to Islam. So if somebody who does not know Arabic wants to read the Quran, well, best way to do it is to read a translation only. The Arabic, you don't know it yet, so most when you Google free Quran, they're going to send you a copy of the translation of the Quran. You want the original Uthmani script in Arabic. That's what you want. You can also ask a friend, and finally you can ask a local masjid and tell them you need a Quran in the Uthmani script. Excuse me. Also, you're going to need a folder where you're going to keep your printouts, your notes, and your self-tests. And obviously, I encourage you to take notes, and all the PowerPoint and all the the lessons that I make these videos with. I'm going to put the PowerPoint in the description link, a link in the description of the videos of the printouts, so you can keep that as your personal notes. And obviously, I encourage you to take notes while you are watching these videos. So you also want to keep a folder where you were going to track your printouts, your notes, and your self-tests. And finally, you are going to need a willingness to learn and a self-starting attitude in order to, derive most benefit from these videos. For additional help, what I haven't decided yet is how I'm going to conduct private lessons or if I'm going to hold office hours. I would say that if you need additional help, ask someone in your local masjid. But if you do need private lessons, you can always private message me and PM me on YouTube, or I will provide contact information at the end of every lesson. My email address and my phone number. I usually don't prefer to give those out on public videos. But if you do, go ahead and private message me on this channel, using this channel, and inbox it into my YouTube inbox, and we can conduct something if you need some private lessons. I haven't decided if I want to do office hours because, well, I honestly don't know how popular these videos are going to be. I hope they're going to be popular and popular enough that I'm going to need to do office hours. That's going to be great. But you can always ask someone in your local masjid. And obviously, if it's going to be a private lesson, or if you're looking for a private lesson, I would prefer you to be male. If you are a female and you need a private lesson, then I'm going to need a mahram present during when we have our private lesson online. We can do a Skype chat, or we can do some other kind of private chat like a WhatsApp or whatever. But at that time, a brother or a father or a husband needs to be present in order for me to conduct a private lesson with a sister. So yeah, that is it. I hope that this journey, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives me strength and courage to conduct this journey for you guys and to create high quality videos. And basically what I wanted to end with, and I haven't prepared a slide for, is why I decided to do these videos. So I'll give you a quick note on that. The reason I wanted, or at least decided to do these videos, is recently I went to Medina and I recited the parts of the 30th juz to one of the local shuyukh there. He had an ijazah in the Quran, and he said that he liked my recitation, and I recited to him. And one day, and basically the story goes as follows: that I was sitting there reciting to him parts of the 30th juz, and he was because it was a public class. There were people with different levels of competency of reading the Quran and reciting the Quran were coming into that class. Um, he sat down, he listened, he was listening to parts of my 30th, and he was giving me some instructions on ahkam an-nun as-sakina wa tanween, ahkam al-madud. These are advanced topics which we will eventually cover. And one brother came and sat down, and he was trying to correct his his basic a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, which, if you don't know, means I seek refuge in Allah with Satan the rejected, or Satan the the one who has been pushed away. This brother could not get a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim correct. So the sheikh tried, but he couldn't. So what he asked me is to take him aside and to help him with his a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I believe this brother was from Sri Lanka, or he may have been from India. I'm not exactly sure, but he had a thick. He could speak a little bit of Urdu. He could speak some English, but so I sat him down and I started explaining how to pronounce a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. And what ended up happening was he explained to me that he didn't know what I was talking about. So I said, well, what do you mean? Do you know what a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim is? He said, no. I said, oh, okay. Do you know the Arabic letters? He said, no, I have never learned a single letter of Arabic. I can't read. I'm unlettered. And at that point, I realized, wow, that some people are at that very, very, very basic level, and I like the sheikh was trying to correct it, a'udhu billah, but I told the sheikh, I was like, this brother doesn't need his a'udhu billah corrected. He doesn't even know the letters. So the sheikh had me sit down separate with that brother, and I taught him the first 5 letters of the Arabic alphabet. And I taught him what they looked like. I taught him how to read them, their names, the number of dots they each has in them, and how to pronounce each and every one of them. So alif, ba, ta, tha, jim. Alif, ba, ta, tha, jim. Those 5. And I sat there for a while and I kept repeating them with him. And by the time I was done, he knew 5 letters. And I have to say that was one of the most fulfilling experiences of my life. By the way, I am a certified technical trainer from CompTIA, which is it's a technical certification on training. I used to teach Microsoft Office. I used to teach some classes in SharePoint. I also used to conduct training for some professional organizations. Not professional organizations, but for some of my employers. I used to teach people how to use Microsoft Office and how to use SharePoint. So, and I also used to conduct tutoring for students while I was in college. So I've been in the tutoring/teaching business for some time. But the reason I decided to do these videos was because of that one experience from Medina. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to help you guys in your journey. And please make dua for me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.